Hello.
Hello, testing. 1, 2, 3. Well, welcome, Jairo. Welcome to the Café con Leadership podcast. How are you doing today?
Oh, fantastic. Happy Friday. Happy Friday on the Super Bowl weekend. Recording
Super Bowl weekend. Yeah. You going to be watching it?
I will be watching it with my friends and our kids. So the kids will be playing and we'll be pounding away on wings and stuff.
Yeah. That's the adult hangout version. So I love it.
Exactly. People don't admit it, but that's it. That's the reality, you know. When you watch it with your families, right?
That's adult fun. That's how you know you're over 40.
Exactly.
Too funny. Well, welcome, Jairo. I'm so happy to have you on this podcast. You know, we kind of we've been back and forth a little bit on just kind of some messaging and some conversations on what you do. And I would love to first start off with giving the audience a bit of background on who you are and what you do and why they call you Dr. B.
Sure. I love it. Great. So I'm Dr. B, Dr. Jairo Borja, and I am the president of Borja Consulting Group. So what I do is I help small businesses with small business planning. What that means is get them, help out with their small business planning, with their business plan, make them bankable, right? So that they can go ahead and obtain that loan. I do business coaching when it comes to things of that nature. And then I also have a book that came out in late 19, early 2020. No, I'm sorry, late 18, 19. Sorry, I messed up the wrong year. The book came out in late 19, early 2020. No, late 18. Sorry. It came out in 2019.
It's out now.
It's out now, exactly. Transforming with Success. It's a whole book on 10 tips how to network strategically, using LinkedIn and some other strategies in person. This was pre-COVID. That's why I was thrown off. I didn't know if I was in 2020 or 2021. So I was very excited about that. And in addition to that, I also have a course now, which is what I've been promoting now. It's called Transforming with Success, which is an expansion of the book, which is now pivoted, no pun intended, to virtual. And I have a lot of those same tips now using LinkedIn, and those same tips can apply both virtual and or on site. So that course did come out in the beginning of this year. I can't mess that date up. And now I'm going ahead and I'm going to these different organizations that have sales departments or business development departments to say, hey, look, you have this opportunity to create this course, to take this course at your own leisure and help your sales staff out. And I could come in there and help facilitate, 8-week boot camp and help you guys with any, questions and all that you need. So that's what I've been doing. I'm excited. And that's me in a nutshell. So I know, did you want to tell them how we met?
Sure. Go ahead.
So I'm involved in quite a couple of amount of organizations that I'm a part of. One of them is ASIS International, which in your previous life you was in security, and I'm still in security. I just haven't been as active. But ASIS is a great organization that helps security professionals either with whether it's a career transition from law enforcement into the private sector security, or whether it's military into the private sector. And they have monthly events, and they have a lot of resources when it comes to certifications in security. They have the CPP, PSP, PCI, and they have now the APP, which is for entry level in security. So it's the who's who in security. And what I mean by security, it's not just the mall security guard. It's very sophisticated things such as integration and physical security, such as cameras and turnstiles and things of that nature. So I'm very active. I'm the young professional liaison for the New York City chapter, or one of the young YPLs as we call them. And I'm also on not as active, but I am on the national board for the young professional as well. Sandra, you attended a lot of those events in the New York City chapter, and that's how we connected. So,
yes, I love those events, and it was such a eye-opening experience. Even just this type of security, like you said, it's not mall security. Yeah. They're talking about biometrics and scanning and all these different access points, and how to really have a safe and secure building and infrastructure or construction project. I mean, it was
management. Right.
Huh?
risk management, right?
Yes.
All that. Yeah, and now with this whole emergency management, and I'm pretty sure now crisis management. I'm pretty sure now that once COVID, we understand it now. I'm pretty sure we'll have other programs and procedures in place, right, to kind of handle that. So
yeah, it just keeps evolving more and more. I mean, I love that. I want to kind of dive into the networking, because you have a book on networking. We met via networking, and what is like the art of networking to you?
To me, the art of networking is being able to attend an event virtually on site and really have a mission, right? It's funny because yesterday someone had a conversation with someone, and they were like, "Hey, we have this young lady who attending all those events, attending, and burning herself out, but not networking with a purpose, right?" So so that's what I talk about in the book. That's what I also talk about in the course. It's all about networking with a purpose, right? So whether it's, okay, this meeting, I know I could meet with strategic partners. Okay, this person I could meet with referral sources. Okay, this person I could meet with end users that could take advantage of my course or book or coaching services or boot camps, right? So you really have to network with a purpose, right? You can't just enroll and sign up to every single event on meetup.com. You have to really, for example, not to plug them, but you have to be able to be strategic as far as what events you can attend. And you also have to spend some time in building your business as an entrepreneur, spend some time prospecting, and really, take a time block in order for you to optimize and really, make some money at the end of the day, or solve a problem at the end of the day.
Absolutely. No, I love that. And like relationships, right? Like at the core, like I love that. Like, and I don't even remember the year. You already had issues to try to remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the year. 19, 18, 17. I can't. Like the years are like, all over the place.
I know. It was probably like 2012, 2013, something like that. When we first got connected.
Yeah. We'll go 20.
It works. We don't need any evidence. But I love I want to talk about like the relationships, and then like within, I mean, it's general, right? But a lot of my audience is the Hispanic nature, and I want to help them really learn, and I'm sure you do too, because you've done this, really helping to have the Latino community engaged. So I'd like to ask you, one, how do you find events that are geared to professional Latinos? We can Google them, but I know there's so many organizations that you're involved with. And then two, how do you take somebody that walks into an event like that and maybe feels shy with, meeting people? What do you think about that? And how can you help somebody like that are primarily introverted to really engage and build relationships for all of those avenues you were mentioning?
Great question. Yeah, I'm active with Prospanica, which is formerly known as National Society for Hispanic MBAs. So what Prospanica does is we have a lot of networking events. Well, first of all, Prospanica is an organization that helps Hispanics with professional development, helps with scholarships, and it helps get the individuals tries to get Hispanics into the C-suite as best as possible, right? So we have a national conference every fall, and we also have a leadership summit every March. So why do I say that? Because that is one great way. It's actually in the course and book. Sorry, not to keep plugging, but it's true. It's in both, and it talks about being able to leverage an organization such as a Prospanica, such as an organization such as SHIP or Alpha, right? All these are great organizations, and that have monthly networking events. For now, they're all virtual, but I'm pretty sure eventually there'll be some type of hybrid model, or they'll be on site with limited capacity. But it's helped me out, right? So I'll give you an example. I've been active as a member since 2016 on the board. I went from the VP of Professional Development into the treasurer for a hot minute, 6 months, and then now I'm the executive vice president for the New Jersey chapter. So what that has helped me tremendously in professional development. Like I would have never had the opportunity to learn about the stuff in regards to fundraising and money for as a treasurer. Professional development I kind of did at Berkeley, so that's fine. And now as the EVP, I need to understand the 30,000 foot of what the Jersey chapter needs, and that's just professional development that I would never have gotten had I just stuck to my little position at my previous employer, right? So that's definitely why I highly recommend folks to join an organization like that and even give back and network with a purpose and really join a board. It's great for your resume, helps build your leadership qualities, and at the end of the day, you also get to network with other folks, right? And then your second question was, how does it help and how can I help an introvert? The advantage of networking virtually is that you don't have the luxury of you have to be at the event physically and dancing. That's fine. If it's not for you, that's okay. But what's cool about networking virtually is you can mute, unmute, and you can pick and choose what events you attend, right? And one tip that I also that a lot of, and this could work for an introvert or an extrovert. In both the course and book, I talk about the Formea method, right? So you probably heard of the FORM method. I added 2 letters to it, right? So family, occupation, recreation, motivation, education, and achievement, right? So what does that mean? So a lot of people have challenges striking a conversation. So basically, if you have that acronym in your head and say, hey, I approach a table, for example, or I'm in a breakout session on Zoom, and I happen to meet Sandra, and then we're pitching each other's businesses or getting to know each other. And then, hey, do you have family? I have family. That's a great commonality to have. You're a consultant. I'm a consultant. So we have the commonality there. So we have this similar challenges. You like certain sports. I like certain sports. So we could connect there. I didn't say sports entertainment. And motivation. So, whatever, we may have similar interests when it comes to motivation. Education, you may have a doctor, I may have a doctor, and we have that commonality there. And achievements, we may have achieved similar things, such as start a business, right? So you strike that conversation, and then from there, physically at the event, I would write it down on a business card, but virtually, I would just write it down somewhere and eventually enter it in my CRM. And then when we have that follow-up conversation, that's a lost art, by the way. The art of the follow-up, I leverage my CRM, and then I say, hey, Sandra, I remember we had this conversation. By the way, I know you like the Mets and this and that, and this way you find strike that common ground. So I know it's a long answer, but I hope that was a good answer.
Yeah, no, that was good. That was good. Especially, I like that you brought it up, the Zoom, and how do people really, because you can't embrace, you can't get to know, you can't shake hands, you can't really have intimate eye-to-eye contact.
Right.
It's a lot different virtually.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. What about I want to kind of go into what you were talking about, the transformation program, and how, because it's all personal development, right? How we learn, how we interact with people, how we strike up conversations, how we develop who we are so that we are getting better every day. And so tell us a little bit about the process of the transformation method.
Great. I love it. Yeah. So transformation comes from Transformers, one of my favorite cartoons growing up. That's actually how I got the name, right? But it's all about my tagline is go from networking novice to networking guru, right? So it's all about this happens to a lot of people, right? We have a great product, we have a great service, but for whatever reason we just don't have enough people to talk to, right? We just run out of people to talk to, right? In the financial services, we call it like your top 100 or top 200, right? So you write down all your friends, all your family, and then you go ahead and try to sell to them, right? It may work for the first 2 or 3 months, but then now the 3 to 6 month time frame, the 1 year time frame, now, okay, who do I talk to next, right? So then the whole transformation theme or process when it comes to transforming your way to success, it's all about taking you through an 8-week journey, right? So week 1, you learn about how to leverage LinkedIn when it comes to introductions. Another week, it's all about leveraging your CRM, right? Another week, it's all about the event itself, virtual and on site. And eventually, once you get to the 8 weeks, you'll have the exact tools that you could use, forever and ever. And that way you'll never run out of folks to talk to. I'll give you a very quick tip that I mentioned in my masterclass, right? So a quick tip is, for example, let's say I look at Sandra's LinkedIn profile, right? I look at all her connections. Let's say she has a second degree connection. So what that means on LinkedIn is that she's connected to someone that I'm not, right? So basically, I would ask Sandra, hey Sandra, would you mind making the introduction? Right? Then it's best practice for Sandra to reach out to the other person and say, hey, would you mind that I introduce you to Dr. Jairo. A person says yes, and then through a group chat, Sandra, me, and then the person that I want to get introduced to say, hey, Sandra, hey, this is Dr. Jairo, kind of how I did via email, right? And say, hey, I think you guys would benefit from a conversation. And then boom, I would just reach out, reply to all, and eventually I would set up an appointment with that person, right? So let's say Sandra does that for 3 people for me, that's 3 folks, right? If I was to do that with 2 other people, that's 3 times 3, that's 9 new names or warm introduction that I did not have now that I had before, right? So that's, and I don't have, that's not without picking the phone once, that's just a couple of simple messages.
Yeah.
So that's one tip that's in the course that I just gave to you now, so.
Yeah. People underestimate LinkedIn and the power of LinkedIn and being able to search, especially and see people's second connections and find someone that can make that introduction to you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I agree. Power LinkedIn, my friend. I know you wrote a great article on it. I'll give you a shout out. I'll give you a
Thank you. I wanted to go into leadership because you brought it up before and I think that's so wonderful when you're involved in an organization and you're, you volunteer for a position and what you gain out of it. There is an ROI, it's not specifically monetarily, but there is a return on the investment of time in there. And that's beautiful. What do you feel really is how we can be better leaders overall? Like, what have you learned about leadership?
What I learned about leadership is being a thought leader, right? So not just sitting back and being reactive, being proactive, being able to post on LinkedIn, sharing your ideas, sharing your concerns, sharing your thoughts, and you'd be surprised, right? Like you post something, a like could go a long way, or a reshare could go a long way. You never know who in my network could benefit from your services and vice versa, right? So I think it's important to kind of help each other and help others, right? I think that's the number one thing that I've learned as a thought leader over the past 2 or 3 years, right? So, and like I said, I love to be a resource for folks, right? Like I'll give you an example. I had someone who was looking for a realtor to kind of rent her apartment, right? So she came to me saying, I know you know everybody. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So I was able to introduce her to a realtor. I didn't get a kickback, but it was I just love to help people. And I was able to get those 2 connected. And she eventually has her apartment up for rent now, right? So that's what it's about. It's about being a thought leader and being able to help others, right? So I saw a quote somewhere, right? In sales is always be closing, but they changed the quote to ABH, right? Always be helping, and that's you can sum it up and and that's what I'm about. I'm always be helping. So.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because that is the nature of today, right? We're no longer selling, we're building relationships and serving others and connecting on a much deeper soulful level, I think, today. Yeah. But that servant leadership, regardless of where you are, regardless of where in the infrastructure of an organization, it is being servant, like serving others. And that's how we get ahead, right? Like you can well, you can, but back in the day, it was like a crawl and a scratch to try to get to the top, it was so difficult. But now it's beautiful that people are really valuing the art of helping each other and being that person that, I may not know all the answers, but I'm willing to share with you what I do have or how I can help and how that is reciprocated in so many ways, soulfully and with knowledge, no knowledge. Yeah. So I love that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like you said, back in the day we'd be competing, right? But now, why are we competing? You do digital and planning your company. I do more sales and prospect training. Why not collaborate, work together, right? So work smarter, not harder, right? So I agree with you 100%. Yeah,
I love that. So many people think that is like competition. I love that you brought that up, because I'm all about how can we work together? Let's, as opposed to working in individual silos, we can accomplish so much more when we put our heads together, we put our thought leadership brains together and say, okay, how can we spread our message and our impact to more people? And you can only do that by collaborating with others and working together. I love that so much. All right. So we talked a lot about networking and leadership and transforming, your transformational program. Now I want to get some more personal because you brought up sports entertainment, and
this is here we go.
I know I'm almost scared to go into these orders.
Oh, man.
People are gonna really know me now. Yeah, no, but I want to talk. Like, tell us about what Jairo is personally. Like, what are you into? What sports entertainment are you into? Like, what is your vibe in that area?
Oh, I love this. I don't know where this could go, man. I don't know, but well, I am from Queens, right? So right before I think the announcement will be made or has been made. So regarding a certain pitcher signing with the Mets, so I am a diehard Mets fan, right? Diehard to the point where, like, I went to I have a couple of hold on. I keep my stub, right? The World Series stub from 15, the last game at Stadium, but I still have it there. So I have a couple of pennants over there. So I am a diehard Mets fan, right? So 1986 was the last time they won, and they better win soon, right? I see the Dodgers win, the Royals won, they beat us, right? All these teams win, and the Mets have not won. So I'm a diehard Mets fan at heart. So that's one thing. Right. But also what makes me tick, I am a diehard wrestling fan, right? Pro wrestling fan as well, right? So I've been to 16 WrestleManias, not one, not two, but 16. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went to 16 WrestleManias. I went to 10. This I know because someone was asking me today. Let's see if I remember this correctly. 10, 17, 20, 21, 22, 24, 26, straight until 35, and then I had to take a break because of COVID, or else I would have went to WrestleMania 36 last year. So.
Wow, that is a lot of WrestleManias. That is a diehard fan.
Wow. Yeah. And I love the fact that you go to different cities and you meet different like-minded folks, and then the last couple of years, pre-COVID, a lot of these other independent wrestling organizations do events around that. Around in the city, so it's pretty fun. So it makes it really interesting. So
yeah, they make it like a Wrestle Week or something like that. Or
I don't know. WrestleMania Week, right? And
WrestleMania Week.
We have all these meet and greets, which I like meeting the other wrestlers. So it's pretty cool.
Too funny. That is too funny. They're in Tampa this year, right? They're actually going to be.
There's going to be live fans. They're looking at the Super Bowl first, because the Super Bowl, I think, is going to allow 22, I think. 7,500 will be first responders. Actually, it should be more than that. No, they deserve to be more, but 7,500 is good. And then the others will be paid spectators. And they're going to monitor that. They got to know the protocols, but I think it'll be around in that range, like 20. And it's a 2-day event. WrestleMania is 2 days this year again. So I'm pretty sure it'll be like 15 to 20,000 day one and 15 to 20,000 day two. So, yeah.
Really? Oh, they're splitting the live show into two?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
2 days. Just like Wrestle Kingdom. It's 2 days. So
that'll be
I like it. I like it. One perspective is good, because sometimes the last one, WrestleMania 35, was like a 7 or 8 hour event because they had like 15, 16 matches. So you get burnt out by the time, like the main event for when Ronda won, it was like it happened at 12:30 or ended like at 12:30, 12:45. So it was way too late. Becky Lynch won like way too late. So I was tired.
Ronda Rousey's not coming back though.
I think she will. She's been training. But I thought she would have came back at the Rumble, but no, I guess she'll come back after Mania or something. Who knows?
Yeah. We might. This could be a whole other conversation.
Exactly. I know.
But let's dive into this.
I will say that growing up, I'll keep it to like the general stuff. So growing up, I was a big Hulkamaniac, and I guess what would the Warrior fans be? I guess Warrior. I don't know what they were, but what we call ourselves, a Warrior fan. So I was a big fan of both of them growing up. So I was very torn at WrestleMania 6 because they fought each other. So, but I'm happy the Warrior won. So that's me growing up. And then as a teen, I was a big Dwayne Johnson fan, right? So, I could relate. I looked like, Dwayne a little bit to an extent, right? So I was able to, relate to The Rock in a lot of ways. So that I was a big Rock fan, and as a teen in the 90s. So and then now I like AJ Styles.
Now what?
AJ Styles. I'm AJ Styles guy.
No comment on that one from me. No comment. But I love that. And, go ahead.
No. I'm just laughing away.
All right. I was gonna say, like I think like even from watching a couple wrestling, I say a couple. I don't want everybody to really know. from watching, from watching some wrestling fans, I've been like brought into it. Um,
Yeah.
but from watching wrestling, like I see a lot of valuable business insight that I get from just like, it's not just an entertainment show. Like if you really watch this show, like you could really see how the personal branding, one's identity, one's voice and messaging, like all of these different elements that are applicable like to your business, and really allows you to see the world from a very different eye, a very unique eye. Like when you look at the two, it's like, wow, man, this is genius how this is presented, and or this isn't, right? You know, like, and I that's one thing I truly, truly appreciate about it is, you know, just the insight that I gain of you know, business from watching it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Right. So, of course, a lot of it is exaggerated or turned up to a volume a notch. But yeah, I agree. It's a lot of business aspects to it, right? As far as the heel versus face, good versus evil, and a lot of branding and being able to who's going to get over the top, who's gonna win, who wants to be the main event spot, right? It's interesting because everyone competes for a championship, but unlike MMA, where it's ranking system for the most part. Sometimes it is political as far as who fights who, but for the most part, it's a ranking system, right? And in wrestling, it's about not necessarily you could be the best performer or wrestler per se, but it doesn't mean you're going to be the champ, right? So you're looking to prove to Vince and to Triple H, and that's learning business politics, wrestling politics, that you want to be able, that you're good enough to carry the belt and be able to go on the shows and do the nonprofit stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. Wrestling politics is real similar to.
Yeah, and leadership, because now Roman's a leader.
Yeah, exactly. Being head of the table.
Yeah. Do you think he's a good leader or a bad leader?
Who?
Roman.
Roman. I think he's
storyline-wise
or kayfabe or we're breaking.
No, as Roman, not as. As he's bad. He's a bad guy. He's beats up his cousins.
Right. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
My cousin beat me up once in a while too. Not anymore, but when I was younger.
Too funny. No, I love that, and it really, like, even just watching. I mean, it like, I always look at things very just that way, just even watching him. Obviously, he's a bad guy, so he does his bad guy things. And yet he's so brilliant in how he's able to lead, because regardless, he really branded himself as the head of the table, because of culturally his background. But I think that, like, you're torn because he's a bad guy, he's doing all these like bad things, but he's able to own that leadership position, where a year and a half ago it wasn't. It was just he was a totally different person.
I agree. And then we've been wanting to, for the diehards, we've been dying to see this side of Roman for so long, right? And I know he was face for so long, fed all these lines, right? That it just wasn't him. Then of course he got sick, and then we didn't know if he was going to come back, and then he had that, like, they felt sorry for him, face run, and eventually left because of COVID again, and then finally came back as a heel. So it's never too late, right, to really turn it around. I guess you could relate that to business, right? It's never too late to really make that little change. And look at him now he's like beloved.
Right. Yeah. If that is the biggest lesson, right? Like, your career could be on a downward spiral, and then one little switch and you could start that upshift again. There's never a moment in life where you are stuck in some muck. You could always pull yourself out. And I love that you brought that up. That's great.
I like it. I like this deep aspect to it that I never really think about, right? I love it.
Yeah. Yes. I love it too. Yeah. Awesome. So tell us, like, just whenever you want to share, like, I'm interested in hearing kind of where your head is at, where your heart is at with what you want to do, where you see yourself in the next 5 years, or how do you feel even, the Hispanic community as a whole, but human nature, humans as a whole, but how can we evolve and transform ourselves to that? Like, have you had any thoughts about how we can do that ourselves?
Yeah, I think about it every day. Why do I say that? Because I'm at the end of the day, at my heart, I'm an educator, right? So the stats. I don't know the stats completely, but I know there's like less than 5% of Hispanics with like a PhD or a DBA in my case, right? So yeah, it's all about, I think about it every day. So what can we do to kind of help change the narrative there, right? So is it because of at home, not a lot of us are in that position? Is it because of the demand or lack of jobs? Is it lack of role models, lack of mentorship? So it could be a combination of a couple of things, right? So yeah, I'm very passionate about that. So I mean, the way I want to change a narrative a little bit at a time is, like you said, being a thought leader, a servant leader in my community with the Prospanica New Jersey chapter, and that's why I post what I post, do what I do. I get messages every day. Hey, you're very inspiring. Very inspiring what you do. Because not a lot of people have the cojones to kind of just leave a paid cushion job and just go ahead and try and dive into entrepreneurship. So where I see it, I'm happy that a lot of more Hispanics are up in prominent roles politically and in the business force, but it's not enough, right? It's definitely not enough. We need more people like you, more people like me, as leaders, to help to show the teenagers coming up, my daughter, my 15-year-old coming up, my 5-year-old coming up, that that si se puede, right? Yes, we can. And I think we have to somehow, some way break that glass ceiling.
Yeah. I agree. And it's an unending mission. Like it's just going to be, and it is through these conversations, it is through groups and collaborations and communities where people can come together and feel accepted, feel they're in the company of peers and people that are really looking out for each other, mindset. There's a lot of, I interviewed Dr. Melissa Peralt, you know her as well.
Yeah.
And she brought up this scenario that I never heard of before until she brought it up. Now I'm hearing it more often, but the crabs in a barrel syndrome, the idea that when a Latino's trying to make it out or make it up, there's a lot of people that are pulling you down, and you gotta really have to break free from that and make sure that we're surrounding ourselves with people that are on the same page, that want to see us uplifted. Have you ever had scenarios where like you felt like community wasn't always supportive in your life?
In my life, yeah. Even when I made the decision to jump into entrepreneurship, yeah. Some people, logically, have their opinion without actually doing it. Oh, no haga eso, don't do that, this and that, no steady income, what about your family, this and that. Yeah, a lot of people have this negative connotation or opinionated without actually going through the scenario. And I mean, like, who are you, right? So yes. Recently, as of a year and a half ago, I that's happened to me, right? So some folks are like, yeah, do your thing, and others are like, what? Why are you doing this? And that's, you have your opinion, but I'll respect someone's decision if they've done it as well. But if you haven't done it, then who are you, right? So that's happened to me recently. So
yeah, exactly. So how did you like shift it or shake it off? Did you just, I mean, some people just can shake it off, and others kind of allow it to direct their lives to some point, and it's like, why are you letting negative people, sometimes it's family, right? Sometimes very intimate people in your circle. So it's like you developing and instilling that self-belief in one another, especially like, I'll give you a quick scenario. Like even when I was maybe 20, I bought my first car. I was maybe like 21, somewhere around there. And my sister, before I bought the car, she was like, oh no, you're not gonna get a car, and I'm like, why would you say that? Like, and I got my car, and then a week later she went to the same dealership and got her car. But like even little things like that are like, and I love my sister, but I think it's unknowingly, right? Like that you don't know where it's coming from. It could be coming from so many different reasons, but how we allow other people to have a voice in our lives and really learning to lead ourselves and say, okay, this is not in my best interest. This isn't aligned with me. And I don't have to succumb. Like this isn't the truth of what my, capabilities and capacity are or is. So like when Melissa had brought that up, the crabs in a barrel syndrome, this mindset that in a community, especially when it's tight knit, like not everybody wants to see you rise. Not everybody is rooting for you, you know? So it's so important to be around the energy, like you with Prospanica, like you're around. Once you're in that energy, there is no that energy is flowing with entrepreneurship and thought leaders and conversations that are positive and professional and in a direction that is up, you know, in a direction that is like, let's expand, let's grow ourselves, and let's grow our communities. But people have to get there, you know, they have to. I struggle with, you either have it or you don't have it. I wonder if, like, especially you as an educator, have you seen people where they're able to just break out of maybe baggage or I don't even know what the word is, you know, but just feeling like that their family really does have a say in their lives, or, you know, in how they do and live.
Yeah, it's a case-by-case scenario. I can tell you, for me personally, to answer your question, no, I definitely able to shake it off. And I think unfortunately, I had a stalker recently as well. So haters going to hate, stalkers are going to stalk. But I had to change the number and all that. But at the end of the day, you just got to stay positive and stay the course, right? Not to be cliche like John Cena, but like, you know, taking our previous conversation, never give up, right, and really move forward, and then you know, think about your vision, right? So like, to answer your question, I think I'm answering two questions in one. Is where I see myself in like 5 years is definitely, I see, you know, the course evolving, maybe even having a part 2 or a second or third course similar to the first course, really being able to have a couple of boot camps simultaneously throughout the year, and then being able to help the community still out and be able to help these organizations out when it comes to sales and prospecting, and being able to be more of a voice, especially during Hispanic Heritage Month. And I know you interviewed Frank Abahal and me as well, and with that 365 initiative where he highlights an Hispanic every day of the year. Yeah, let's not wait till Hispanic Heritage Month. You know, I want to work with these BRGs or ERGs to highlight us, and all year round. And that's where I see myself. So I'm almost there. I have the tools, I have the knowledge, the resources, but it takes, you know, one day at a time, one day at a time. So I'll be there. So that's my vision.
I love it. I love it. Jairo, how can share with us, as we're like wrapping up, like what is like a message that you want to share, and then how can people connect with you, get involved with you, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, last message that I want to share. I was watching Cobra Kai, and definitely I would say just follow your passion, right? I finally, everything seems to be clicking, and it's just over trial and error, seeing what works, what doesn't work. I would just say follow your passion, and once you follow your passion, the money, it'll be secondary, and it'll come eventually. So I would just say follow your passion. Of course, have a plan, and if you don't have a business plan, you don't have to, you know, go through me. You're going to go through your local SBA office, and we're more than happy to help you with a plan, right? And then whatever plan you choose, whatever you want to plan or sell, just make sure you understand the process, right? The actual process, how to make money from A to Z. What the mistake I made is, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Yes, I want to create courses. I want to do this. I didn't have a process in place. So, and that's why, you know, how do you keep the pipeline full, right? How do you make sure that you always have 10 appointments, 12 appointments a week, right? And I think it took me a long time to get there, but I think I finally understand the process. So that's hopefully my biggest takeaway, for you guys for today. Follow your passion, but also have a process. And where can they find me? You know, on Instagram at Borja Consulting Group, on Twitter at Borja Consulting, and I'm very active on LinkedIn, Dr. Jairo Borja, and my website, borjaconsultinggroup.com. So,
awesome. And they can pick up your book. Is it on Amazon, or should they go through your website?
We have a website dedicated to it, networkingwaytosuccess.com, or yes, it is available on Amazon as well. So cool.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jairo. You are the bomb. And I won't end it with this, but
I'll end it with this. Too sweet.